Hello, my name is Mandy Taylor. I'm an instructional designer with Academic Technologies and Innovation here at Cal State San Bernardino. Today I'd like to talk about the importance of communication and student engagement in online classes. The things I will talk about apply to both synchronous and asynchronous classes. Student engagement refers to the level of students' attention, curiosity, interest, optimism, and passion for what they're learning. The more engaged students are, the more motivated they will be to complete their course material and progress in their education. Student engagement also depends on three types of interactions. The three main interactions or relationships are student to instructor, student to student, and student to content. You'll notice that two of the three have to do with people. Without connections to people, it will be more difficult for students to connect with the material. They won't have as much invested in it. A good working relationship with an instructor will particularly help motivate students to do their work and ask questions when they need help. When students form relationships with classmates, they are more likely to stay engaged in the course. Let's talk about each of these interactions briefly. Student to instructor interaction. As an instructor, your presence in the online course has positive effects on student satisfaction, student connectedness, and student learning. Consistent and timely communication is one way to establish your presence in an online course and to build that interaction with students. Some common methods of communication include video. You can use videos to help share your teaching philosophy, course expectations, assignment instructions, a myriad of things. You can also share weekly updates or reminders via video to help keep students on track. If you're teaching a synchronous course online via Zoom, video will be your primary means of communication. In addition to video, class discussions are also a good way to establish connections with your students. In a class discussion, through discussion boards or other means, model the responses that you want to see from your students to help keep them on the right track. Acknowledge insightful contributions from your students. Maybe summarize the discussion or the conclusions that your students come to as the discussion wraps up. You do not have to respond to every student every single time in every discussion. And you can tell your students as much and establish your expectations and their expectations for how you will participate in those discussions. But students will notice and appreciate your presence. If you do respond to your students in discussion boards, make sure you're not responding to the same students every single time. Students seeing your presence in those discussion boards may also help them be more comfortable approaching you during virtual office hours. And these virtual office hours are another way for you to establish that communication with your students and for student to instructor interactions to occur. Students need to know how and when you are available. Having these established times will help students and you schedule appointments and manage the workload. Virtual office hours also help with just-in-time questions, answering student questions as they come up. Sometimes these conversations via video or phone or however you interact with your students in virtual office hours, those could be faster than an email chain. A 5-minute conversation may clear up those questions that may take several emails to discuss. It's up to you. Do not underestimate the power of a tiny email or text or Slack message, or however else you choose to connect or communicate with your students. Consistent communication in whatever forms you choose makes a big difference for students. It helps them feel connected to you, to the course material, and helps motivate them to learn. Some things you can do is to regularly send announcements via Blackboard and or email, send due date reminders, send additional and relevant information that is relatable to your students, maybe something in current events that's relevant to your course, anything like that, so students see how the course relates to the world outside of your class. You can also send summaries of readings, links to other resources. Some communication tools that may be useful in establishing student to instructor interaction include Zoom, VoiceThread, and Screencast-O-Matic. Student-to-student interaction. Students need opportunities to build relationships with each other. A sense of community has a positive effect on test performance, overall grades, and overall student satisfaction. Communication that helps build community includes discussion boards, group projects, peer reviews, and video chat sessions. This definitely includes Zoom breakout rooms. Some potential assignments could include having student introductions or icebreakers. An icebreaker I used in a class I taught with a discussion board was a get to know me activity. Students had to give information such as a preferred name, a favorite color, favorite foods, and a dream vacation spot if time, money, and now the pandemic were not an issue. They also had to include a meme or a GIF to help give their classmates more insight into them or into their major. Finally, students also had to ask a general question about something they've always been curious about but haven't found the answer to. In turn, their classmates had to respond with a related meme or GIF and a potential answer to the question without an, I don't know, good question response. You could also create a general question cafe or a general question discussion forum on Blackboard. The goal here is to think of as many opportunities as possible for students to work together without things becoming burdensome. This definitely includes Zoom breakout rooms or other opportunities for students to work together. And whichever ways you ask students to work and interact with each other, make sure you develop clear assignment instructions and add rubrics where applicable. Students to content interaction. These interactions should give attention to active learning. Attention to active learning is important in any teaching situation, and it is especially important in online teaching. What is active learning? Active learning is any learning activity in which the student participates or interacts with the learning process, as opposed to passively taking in the information. When given the opportunity to actively engage with the information they're learning, students perform better. So engagement here means that they do something with or in response to what they're learning. So getting students to apply what they're learning, to respond, to answer questions, to ask questions, to create something based on their course content will help them learn the material and see its value. So rather than students listening and just taking notes, maybe students listen or watch a video and then answer questions within that video or right after that video. So there's an immediate response to that material. They're doing something with that material. This does not mean that you have to turn all of your assignments into a game or build fancy lessons. Instead, focus on what students really need to know and ways you want them to use that information and or demonstrate their knowledge. There are many tools for creating interactive content. These include, but are not limited to VoiceThread, SoftChalk, and PlayPosit. The right tool for you depends on your course goals and comfort level with technology. You do not have to use a tool just to use it. 1 to 2 tools used well and consistently, and one of the tools can be Blackboard, can go a very long way. And again, clear and consistent assignment instructions and expectations will also help students as they navigate your course content. The idea is to create interaction with your assignments. Have something students have to create, respond to, do something with that work. A successful online course will include all 3 types of these interactions. What tools you use for these interactions will depend on your own teaching style, your course goals, your comfort level with technology, and ultimately what will be best for your students. Don't hesitate to reach out to ATI for help from an instructional designer. We're happy to bounce ideas off of you or with you or talk through some of the things that you're able to do. Thank you for your time.